Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Angst Nation from the Wedding Drama subreddit. Couple of warnings before we do get into this one. It contains homophobia, mentions of cancer, and death of a loved one as well. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. This one is titled, My Mother Keeps Trying to Ruin My Wedding. I, 27 female, and my fiance, 27 female, am getting married in November and have been planning our wedding. It has been mostly smooth sailing since the big announcement, other than my mother being rude and dismissive of my partner. They don't know each other well since my mum either ignores her or is very short. Not long after the announcement, my mum called me to ask if I was taking that woman's name. But outside of that, hadn't been much trouble until my grandma told her we were having the cake testing. My grandma was having our wedding at her house and agreed to help pay for the cake. So she came to the testing with us. According to my grandma, my mum said, "Oh, they are actually getting married." My grandma then explained that she pointed out how strange it was for my mum to not be involved in my life or relationship, and she felt like my mum would be more included in wedding planning if she showed interest. I knew instantly that this would set my mother off. Later that night, I got a call from my mum where she screamed at me, telling me my fiance has to be a criminal to be interested in me, that our wedding was shady because it's not traditional, and that my fiance changed me as a person. She said I have grown hateful ever since I moved out of her house. For context, I lived at home for many years because my dad had terminal cancer. After this screaming rant where my fiance was getting more and more upset beside me, my mum let me know that my grandma decided she didn't want the wedding at her house, but that I shouldn't worry because she'd fix everything for me. After talking to my grandma, it was revealed that my mother called her and gave her a list of reasons not to have my wedding. My grandma is easily swayed by my mother, so she agreed at the time. I called my mum back upset. I think that was when she realized she kinda messed up. She intended to get my wedding cancelled so she could get a better venue and be the hero and pay for everything. But my grandma's house has emotional significance to me. Luckily, after talking to my grandma again, she realized my mum's manipulations and changed her mind. I was crushed for days after, not only about my mum trying to use her typical narcissistic manipulations to change my wedding, but also how blasé my grandma was about cancelling on me. Truthfully, it's been like pulling teeth to get any excitement or interest from my family about my upcoming marriage. My mum's second attempt at ruining not only my wedding but my relationship happened the other day. She called me to chat. I was very short with her because I am still upset. During the call, she asked if my fiance was in the room, and after I said yes, she told me I was probably pregnant. You could see how that would cause tension. Luckily, my fiance knows my mum's behaviors and doesn't believe a word she says, but I was left reeling that my mum would try to drop a seed of doubt between my relationship. My sister called me later that day and told me that my mother is telling the whole family that I'm pregnant. I'm tired. We still have 4.5 months to go until the wedding. Immediately for me, I just want to say, cut her out, because let's face it, she's showing her whole self here. She called the fiance a criminal, tried to sabotage the venue, spreading pregnancy lies, and just overall sounds like an absolutely awful person. And look, I know it's difficult. For some people it's not difficult, but you know, she's still your mum. But at what point does "but she's my mum" stop being a good enough reason, you know? We wouldn't tolerate this shit from anyone else in our lives, right? So I honestly think, and again, I know it's not easy because I'm just sat here reading a small part of someone's life. But I think the healthiest thing for them would be to do is uninvite mum completely, because she's gonna cause drama no matter what. I mean, look in this small story, the amount of drama she's caused already. She's a drama whirlwind. Commenter says to OP, "Is it that you were getting married or is it that you were gay? Either way, fuck that. I would seriously cut off anything that treated my serious relationship that way." OP says, "I think it's a mix of both. She claims she's not homophobic, but then says homophobic stuff. Plus, she's always wanted me attached at her hip. Another commenter says, just because she's your mother does not mean you have to interact with her. If a stranger treated you this way, what would you do? Treat your mother the same way. Opie says, I'm mostly low contact with my mother. Before the wedding announcement, there would be months of no contact unless something important came up. Now she's inserting herself into my life again. Commenter says, first off, it sounds like your mum is pissed. You're marrying another female. Please stand up for your fiancé at all times, and it's interesting that anyone would believe you were doing IVF all this time to get pregnant without anyone knowing. Opie says, I've dated both men and women, so I think she's trying to imply I'm cheating. Then, Opie's fiancé made an appearance in the comments. They said, fiancé here. We've discussed cutting her off after the wedding. We just didn't expect her to start imploding the wedding after she realized it was truly happening. And I don't feel like I need protecting. Opie is trying her best to keep her mum at bay for us to have the wedding of our dreams. And as long as mother-in-law doesn't screw up everything, it will be. I want to be moral support for her, and my family will gladly kick her mum's ass if she tries anything day of. So, it was nearly 3 months later that OP came back into the post and says a lot of things have been going on lately, and now we're a month away from our wedding. Since the first time I posted, things have calmed down a lot and everything seems to be smooth sailing outside of a few comments from my mother. It started off with her asking me to move back in with her temporarily, which I turned down. Then it turned into her talking about getting a new house and selling the one she lives in currently to something smaller, where it could be just her, my sister and I. Then on my birthday, she kept commenting that things were about to go back to normal and soon everything will be okay again. That paired with her bringing up my ex relationships and asking if I talked to any of them in front of my fiancé was putting me in a pretty bad mood. Yesterday morning, my fiancé and I decided to head to the courthouse bright and early and apply for our marriage license, since we had the morning free before we had to go to work. While there, we started talking and making plans. So I'm thrilled to announce that yesterday evening, my wife and I eloped at a Red Robin. Everything had been turned in and made official, and you are now hearing from a married woman who has one heck of a celebratory party planned a month from now. Also, no one outside my sister, who was a witness, and a few close friends I trust know. So if my mother tries to object or mess up the ceremony, well, tough. Can't stop a marriage when someone is already married. Thanks everyone who read and have great advice. On the back of this, a commenter says to OP, do you live in a state where you can do a self-binding ceremony, or did you get an officiant to marry you over bottomless fries? Either way, I love it. Congratulations. OP says we got a friend who is ordained to marry us over bottomless fries and pretzel bites. We actually stopped at one of those parking lot coffee places and got coffee for the whole car. Everyone carpooled with us. Commenter says, so happy you made it for yourselves and can shut down the haters. Hopefully RR stays a special place for you both. Definitely should pull contact with mum back, like low contact, for your own sanity. OP says we actually went to Red Robin to celebrate after getting engaged, so it's quickly becoming our place. Someone says, has OP gone low contact with her mother? OP says, I am very low contact with my mum. The first time I've seen her since the original post was my birthday this past weekend. All comments I've heard have been secondhand from being in the room when my mum called my sister, and she didn't know it was on speaker. I respect what you're saying, but that's not the situation. The only reason my mum was invited to the wedding was because it was required for my grandma not only to host the wedding, but also help pay for it. OP responds to a downvoted comment regarding having a fake ceremony where OP's mother will be there. Does OP's mother know she's married? OP says we are still having a wedding ceremony for the family, and they don't know we are already married. If my mum stands up randomly and tries to object the wedding or make a scene and get the wedding stopped, it won't change anything because me and my wife are already married. Yes, they know we're already married. My wife's childhood best friend wants to officiate the big family ceremony, and one more that says to have pictures of us and all our friends for the memory of the ceremony. It's not really a fake ceremony either. It just doesn't include signing the paperwork because we already did that. Marriage and wedding is more than a legal status. A lot of people suggested eloping on that last post, and I think Opie did the good thing for themselves in the end. It's a shame it had to go that way because of, mum's behavior in this. But I'm, like the commenter said, I'm glad that they did it for themselves because, you got mum doing all this wild shit, and let's face it, she was going to pull something somewhere along the line. She's already tried, changing the venue without talking to anyone about it. That's wild ass behavior. And then you got grandma there who seems extremely flaky and can drop your venue at the drop of a hat if she's convinced otherwise. But in some ways, I find the whole mindset absolutely fascinating. Terrifyingly fascinating, I should say. Because, the mum in this, taking a step back and she can't see what she's doing to her child, pushing her away constantly here is just mind-blowing. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a deleted user, and it seems we're going down the mother route today. It says, mother-in-law took my birthday cake. Should I apologize? I don't know. I can already feel myself boiling up. Whenever we talk about cake, you know what I get like. Throwaway account. My wife, female 37, and I, male 38, are from two different cultures. I'm from Europe and my wife is from the Middle East. We live in Canada. My birthday was 2 nights ago and my wife got me a small cake. My favorite cake from my favorite bakery. My mother-in-law was at our home for dinner. We cut the cake and after dinner my wife went to put our baby to bed. I was supposed to give mother-in-law a ride to my sister-in-law's place. Mother-in-law grabbed the leftover cake in the box to take with her. I asked her if she was taking the leftover cake and she said yes, for sister-in-law and her son. I said, but that is my favorite cake and I was hoping to eat the leftovers tomorrow. She seemed really insulted and said that I had already had cake and that I was being petty because I was taking the cake from a 5-year-old boy. I said, fine, take the cake. After I came back, I told my wife and she said it's a cultural thing. You have to share the cake and I was rude and owe mother-in-law an apology because I made her feel bad. Am I the arsehole here for not wanting to apologize and thinking I deserved the leftover cake? Opie added later, it was a small 6-inch cake. The leftover was about half the cake. Now, I can't get too much into the whole cultural side of things because I simply don't know, but just from my perspective, if it was me in this situation, taking someone else's birthday cake without asking and then acting offended when they object to it is just plain rude to me. Trying to picture myself in someone else's house on someone else's birthday with someone else's cake and going up to it and thinking, I'll be taking this with me and offering it to someone else. I mean, what the fuck? And again, without asking beforehand, just the expectation. And OP wasn't rude about it. They handled it politely in the moment. They didn't yell, just expressed that they wanted to keep the leftovers that was theirs to begin with. Respect goes both ways, and it's quite that simple, and you were disrespected in that situation, in my opinion. I'd be fuming if someone took my cake. Someone said to OP, not the arsehole, it's pretty normal to expect the leftovers to be yours when someone brings you a birthday cake. OP said I felt like crap. She said, so you're not sharing with a 5-year-old? OP then responds to a downvoted comment about sharing the leftovers with 5-year-olds and getting another birthday cake for himself, and then says, why should I buy myself another cake? I just wanted the leftover of my birthday cake. Someone asked the birthday cake flavor, to which OP replied Parisian chocolate cake. Commenter says, if you're expecting to share your cake with all and sundry, why didn't your wife buy you a bigger cake? That way you could share with everyone and still be able to enjoy several pieces of the cake you were gifted. That expectation seems a little sus to me. OP says I asked my wife this since it was posted here a few times. She said originally her mum was supposed to sleep at our house that night, but her sister needed help, so mother-in-law decided to go there. Her mum decided to surprise the sister-in-law and her son with a leftover cake. She thought we all had a slice, so she just grabbed the box to take it there. I don't know their language, but I can't confirm this was all a miscommunication / misunderstanding, or it's a cultural thing, or they asked mother-in-law to bring some cake. Another commenter says, this is an Arabic hosting thing. as well as a tyrannical mother-in-law. Arabic mothers and grandmothers tend to fawn over boys and use girls for work. I personally knew a man who was breastfed until he was 5, while sisters were weaned at 6 months. Boys are emperors. Depending on the country, in the ME, if a guest admires something, the host gives it to him. In Saudi Arabia and Dubai, this goes to absurd lengths. Don't compliment someone's watch in his home. He might feel obligated to give it to you. This depends on the socio-economic level and class. Once mother-in-law grabbed your birthday cake, it became rude to take it back. She knew what she was doing. Get a replacement cake. In future, get a separate cake to either hide the leftovers or send to in-laws for the kids. Opie replies saying, my wife was born in Dubai and her family is from Saudi. Commenter replies saying, I don't know enough about Saudi culture to say, but I can tell you, this is not normal in my cultures. It is straight up rude and would start a family fight. Opie replies saying, thank you. This is very helpful. I understand cultural differences, but I don't appreciate being manipulated using cultural thing. In-laws and I are finally civil. They originally were against their daughter even dating me, and I try to be respectful as much as I can. I really don't want to add extra stress on my wife, but this incident bothered me so much. Then Opie adds a small update and says, I talked to my wife last night and told her that I've decided not to have a birthday cake anymore. It seems to cause so much drama, so it's easier if we just go to the bakery together, have a coffee, and share a slice of cake on the day instead. Thank you for your input. Commenter just says, oof. I feel so bad for you though, that you have to compromise on your birthday now moving forward, but also seems like this is a good way to set a boundary for yourself to limit drama. Not sure what culture your mother-in-law is from, but I'm guessing from a more collective culture. I lived in a country once where, for example, on your birthday, you had to treat the entire office to lunch, unlike the US where everyone treats you for your birthday. Commenter says, maybe celebrate your birthday when mother-in-law is not in your home. Opie says she doesn't live here. She is visiting Canada. Hopefully next time she comes at a different time. Commenter says, perhaps your wife should purchase 2 birthday cakes and hide one in the back of the refrigerator. That way your mother-in-law can feel like she's winning and you can eat an entire 6-inch cake over the next couple of days. And the final commenter says, this is not a cultural thing. This is your wife's family thing. I'm from the Middle East too. If you're happy with having cake at the cafe, then yeah, your birthday. But I think it's rude for someone to just assume they could take something from somebody else's house without asking. You don't owe your mother-in-law an apology. Your wife should have your back on this. But honestly, it's not a hill worth dying on. Not a battle I'd pick. But I still wouldn't apologize. It's just a cake and it's easy to get. Not a lot of people would care. But we don't all have to care about what you care about, and it is your birthday cake. That's kind of special, and it is fun to see again the next day. I'm sure your wife wouldn't like it if someone took something that's important to her without asking. I think it's fair to say a lot of people were agreeing that, Opie shouldn't have had to give up his cake like this, and it was rude to just take it initially. Other people were talking about the culture side of things, and there was a lot of discussion about different cultures and expectations, etc. For me, I was like the one that was talking about Dubai, and if you compliment on someone's watch, they might feel obligated to give it to you, depending on certain things, obviously. I was like, what? That one was a real surprise for me, and something I'm going to read into, just because I just find cultural stuff like that quite interesting. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Slutty Girl 55, who says, overheard comments 20-24 male talking about how slutty I 20 female dress. I live with 3 boys and 1 other girl. Up until this point, we were all pretty friendly. Yesterday, I overheard the 3 guys talking downstairs. I don't think they knew I was home. They were talking about how slutty I dress and laughing. One of them said I must be so desperate to hook up with one of them, and they were making jokes about which one of them it is. I'm so upset. I generally wear shorts and a tank top around the house, just because they're comfortable. Sometimes it's hot and I wear crop tops. I don't purposely dress sexy. Just picture your standard H&M or Forever 21 outfit. I've seen the guys walking around downstairs in boxers with their shirts off, It wasn't a big deal to me, so I just assumed we were all cool. Why is it okay for them to be in their underwear, but not for me to wear my everyday clothes? Additionally, one of them has a girlfriend who dresses exactly the same, if not more revealing than me. Very low-cut shirts, short shorts, etc. It's totally fine that she dresses this way, but I don't get why she's fine, but I'm a slut. And here's the kicker. I'm in a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend because I'm gay as fuck. What do? I don't feel like I'm in the wrong, but I'm so uncomfortable with the idea of being around them, knowing that they're thinking about how much of a slut I am and how I'm desperately trying to sexually attract them. Commenter says to AP, I think next time you see one of them in boxers or shirtless, you should say, dude, you're dressing pretty slutty today. That's so funny. You must be so desperate to hook up with someone in this house. Who is it? Then, when they look at you like you grew two heads, laugh, inform them that they're gross, but you don't give a fuck because you wouldn't sleep with the sniggering, spineless morons even if you were into men. Let other people give actual good advice. I'd let other people give actual good advice, but a lot of what's on offer so far seems to be along the lines of boys will be boys, with a helpful side order of, well, maybe you do dress slutty. It's pretty sad that it's plumb normal for men to objectify and demean women who are meant to be their friends. I wouldn't be friends with people who talked about me this way. ETA, maybe I was a bit vitriolic in this post, but the situation ground my gears. OP laughs and says, my god, that's hilarious. The look on their face would be priceless. I just walk into the room, sigh, and go, look dude, I know you're super desperate to sleep with me, but it's not gonna happen, so you can just stop dressing like a slut now. Yeah, I guess I'm a little sad because I kinda like these guys. It hurt to hear from people who I thought were my friends. But whatever. If anything, my girlfriend got a kick out of it. They have no idea how wrong they are. Another commenter says, they think you're hot. They're attracted to you and embarrassed that they find you so distracting and using bravado to try and make themselves feel better about it. I'd call them out and tell them if you were a guy dressing that way they wouldn't care, and that it's them creating the issue, not you. OP laughs and says, oh man, that first part made me laugh. If only they could have voiced it as a compliment to me instead. You're probably right about the last bit. I agree, it's just that I'm kind of scared of saying that to their faces. Maybe I'll work up the courage. Crockett Emote says, keep wearing what you want, but stop shaving your legs and pits. I bet their brains would explode trying to process it. Seriously though, I wish I had more helpful advice. Slut shaming sucks. The boys will be boys attitude sucks, and the double standard sucks. OP says, I actually don't shave already. I'm half Asian though, so my body hair is non-existent anyway. My friends are always amazed when I tell them I haven't shaved in months. And thank you, I agree. I'm against slut shaming in general, but it was so unsettling to hear it from my friends in the house. Not over tonight, and this comment was downvoted by the way, says, are you willing to confront them? If you are, I think you could approach them and say, hey everyone, I overheard you yesterday. You guys have a problem with the way I dress. For what it's worth, I'm pretty conservative, but your outfits don't sound bad. Do the shorts cover your hoo-ha and butt? No cheeks hanging out. Do the tank tops have decent amount of coverage? No underboob cleavage from your crop tops? Opie laughs and says, yes, my lumps are completely covered. Have a bunch of the standard H&M tank tops. Not sure if links are allowed here, but if you Google, it's the first result, which actually has very thick straps and are relatively not revealing in the boob department. I also wear these outfits when I go out, to class, etc., and no one's ever had a problem with it. No parents have covered their children's eyes when I walk past. I guess the mature thing would have been to confront them, but the idea kinda stresses me out. Maybe because there are 3 of them and only 1 of me. Maybe if it happens again, I'll bring it up. Thanks for the advice though. Vinay says, what does your female roommate think of all this? I think she'd be a good backup to have on your side when you confront these arseholes. Opie says, God, I don't even know if I can confront them. I didn't do anything because I'm still so embarrassed about the whole situation. I haven't talked to her about it, but I might tomorrow. We're not super close, but maybe she'd be sympathetic. The OP did update the post, which was their final update by the way, and says, firstly, I just wanted to thank you guys for being so sweet in the last thread. I was so stressed out, and you guys made me laugh. First update was removed because I forgot a link, but I fixed it, and onto the update. Before I posted, I was basically set on hiding awkwardly in my room, or maybe dressing more conservatively when I left my room. After I saw your responses, I was filled with a feminist, body-positive rage. These boys were not going to get away with slut-shaming me. Of the 3 guys I'm closest with, Tom, boy 1 of 3, so I decided to talk to him individually. I heard him coming up the stairs and I just took a deep breath and walked out of my room, smiled and asked if I could talk to him for a minute. He came into my room and we were just making small talk. I shut the door, summoned all my assertiveness and said, "So I actually have something weird to talk to you about. I heard you guys talking about me the other day. I'd like to say I threw down with this boy. I told him that sexism isn't cool or funny and I won't put up with it and demanded that he apologize. But instead I cried. A lot. I straight up just broke down. I couldn't even speak. Tom looked absolutely devastated. He immediately apologized, said I wasn't supposed to hear any of that, but I wasn't really paying attention because I was just trying to get a grip on myself. There's nothing more awkward than crying in front of someone when you're not on that level yet. Anyway, I asked him if that was what he really thought of me. He said no, and that they were just being dumb, and that when Sam, boy 2 of 3, brought it up, he was really surprised and knew it was wrong, but didn't call him out on it. He said he should have, and he knew he should have, but he didn't. But he didn't want to make a big deal about it because Sam and Bob, boy 3 of 3, were just joking around, even though they were being mean. He said it was shitty of him not to call him out, and that by not saying anything and acting like it was funny, he allowed it to happen. He said that he has no excuse, and he's sorry. This checks out. From what I heard, it was mainly Sam and Bob saying the bad stuff. I said I knew they were just joking around, but it made me feel horrible to be talked about that way, and that the sexism really slapped me in the face. He agreed and said it was horrible, and he also said something like, "Not that it's an excuse, but you're really pretty, and I think that's why we were talking about you in that way." None of us actually believed what we were saying, but I think it was just wishful thinking and we were idiots about it. So for all of you guys who suggested they were attracted to me, bingo. I laughed and told Tom that I had a girlfriend. He said that was totally cool and then looked embarrassed and said they must have looked like complete idiots bragging about how much I wanted to sleep with them. I agreed. Tom asked if there was anything he could do to make up for it. I told him not to tell the other guys anything because I don't really want to talk about it anymore. But if they ever start talking about another person like that, even if it's not me, to speak up. He promised me he would and apologized about 9 million more times and left. I heard him go into his room and then immediately leave and go out the front door. I didn't think much of it and put my headphones in and played Trackmania for a while. Oh, what a game. Love that game. Later that day, I opened my door and there was a big cardboard box right outside my door. My first thought was that I'd ordered something from Amazon and forgot about it, but it looked like a used box that someone had repurposed and taped shut. I dragged it into my room and opened it. Guys, it was a bouquet of flowers and a cake with the word sorry written on it. If you're thinking that I cried for the second time in 3 hours, well, you're right. Anyway, I'm sorry I didn't throw down with them like so many of you wanted. Unfortunately, I am but a tiny cream puff. I'm working a lot on being more assertive, but in this scenario, I handled it as best as I could. Confronting Tom about it was actually super scary, but I'm proud of myself for bringing it up at all. I accept Tom's apology. He seemed genuine, and this does seem like a one-off shitty behavior situation. He's usually a pretty stand-up guy. The other guys, I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't super sold on them to start with, so I feel I'll just continue to not pursue a friendship with them, and I continue to dress however I want. Lastly, serious thanks to all of your responses. I was hesitant to post this on Reddit because Reddit can sometimes be not so nice about women's issues, but y'all are cool. TLDR, talked to one of the boys about it, cried a lot, got cake. Mini Puffs quotes OP saying, "Unfortunately, I am but a tiny cream puff," and says, "Ah, so cute. Good job on standing up for yourself. Assertiveness comes one step at a time. I'm proud of you." OP says, "Your name is Mini Puffs. One of us. And thanks, seriously. I am a little cream puff in a big world, and I'm doing my best." Max says, "Damn, the flowers got me, lol, but glad it worked out." OP says, "Yeah, honestly, lost my shit. Like I did not expect that at all. Clearly Tom felt really, really guilty, lol." Another commenter says, in quotes, "So, for all you guys suggested they were attracted to me, bingo," and says, "It's quite telling to me how displaying male attraction seems tied into mistreatment and degradation of said women they're attracted to, and how so many guys seem to trip over themselves either excusing it or not calling this bullshit out. Free cake though." OP says, "It's a weird feeling. Guiltily, I'm kind of flattered that they think I'm pretty, but it's also like, express this by calling me a slut. So that sort of takes away from the flattery. Someone in the last thread mentioned that this was just dumb young boy behavior, and I kind of hope so. Not that boys will be boys as an excuse, but more that I hope as they get older they realize that this kind of stuff makes people feel really bad. But now, I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? I love what OP said, but I am a tiny cream puff. I might have to use that myself once in a while. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, liking the video, sharing the video, and hyping it if you're on mobile as well. I do see you doing it. Thank you so much for what you do. It really does mean the world. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.